reporting on the games you love by people who love to game. The MMO Reporter Network.
You're logging into your favorite game, grinding out some gear. A couple of points added to your stats and you have a virtual beer. Max level is pretty cool, but I'll remind you here, my friend, these games are not about the goal, it's about the journey and not the end.
You're listening to MMO Reporter, brought to you by Audible.com. Get a free audiobook download at audibletrial.com/MMO Reporter. And by Doghouse Systems. Choose your weapon with Doghouse Systems.
Don't forget about your ults you need to cherish. Each and every little character you've got, no matter what level they're at. Don't forget about your...
Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of MMO Reporter. This is episode 264. I'm Chris and I'm joined by the ever so loquacious Mr. at MMO Bill himself. Hello, Bill.
I wish you'd warn me when I do this. I feel like I need a $10 word in my introduction now, and I'm just I'm verbally bankrupt.
If only I did this every week, then you would have some sort of preparation for this.
Well, sometimes I'm magnanimous.
Yeah, true. The other breathing that you might hear on there, he hasn't spoken yet. Maybe we'll be lucky and he won't speak the whole show. Mr. Harry Hall. Hello, Harry.
Is this a trick?
I had a split second thought of, do I do the hello, Harry? Can you hear me? Just for a second.
I'm here. Hi, guys.
We are back. We've got some gaming stuff to talk about. This is the Time Traveling Podcast. We're recording this way back when, on July 21st. But unfortunately, we won't be able to release until July 26th because we've got some news under embargo here. We will be talking about some Guild Wars 2 news later on in the show. First story, I got to sit in on a preview, and I'm really excited about that. But before we get to that, let's talk about what we've been playing for the past week. Bill, why don't you start?
Well, by an amazing coincidence, I've actually been playing Guild Wars 2 this week.
No!
I know, right? Who would have ever thought? No, my wife and I actually sat down, and with the living season restart that's coming up on us, we decided that we needed to finish the Heart of Thorns story, which we haven't done. And I'm trying to think about how I could put this delicately. I came across the first big spoiler in the Heart of Thorns story. I'm very not deep into it. I'm very shallow, but it's the big event that happens at the start that surprises everybody and makes everybody sad.
Okay.
So, got that going for me. Have either of you guys finished the Heart of Thorns story?
Not yet.
I've been working on it. I'm getting really close. I'm almost done.
I will. So Chris probably knows what I'm talking about. Harry may or may not. Anyway, it's fun. It's good. It speaks to Guild Wars 2 so much that I was able to go 6 months of playing Guild Wars 2 just solid as being my primary game for everything, and I didn't even play through the story. And the story is arguably the best part of the game. So
Maybe I do know what you're talking about, and maybe you are now reaching the point that I gave up on, where I had to jump into the thing because of the big thing that happened after that thing. The thing.
Yeah, I remember the jump that you're talking about, and that was a horrible jump. I hated that jump.
So you've done the jump.
I've done the jump. I actually
the jump
with
the thing.
First you do the climb. First you did the climb
to jump.
First
right?
you did the climb, and then I had to jump. And I hate to tell you, Harry, I made the jump on my first try.
Well, it's not so much the jump that bothered me, but what happened after the jump when you get to the guy.
That was, to be fair,
Okay,
yeah,
enough
that was a pain.
for not
but
talking about anything reporter, but
that was infinitely easier when there's two of you. Just saying.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Because if there's two guys, and if one dies, then the other gets up, and that's...
anyways,
I was getting a headache.
Anyway.
what else have you done, Bill?
How do we do this without spoiling anything? Big flat foiler. It was a plant. You were fighting a plant in Heart of Thorns.
Yes.
Who'd have ever thought?
No.
That's a big
Say it ain't
mistake.
so.
Yeah,
The
big
MMO
surprise.
Reporter dropping surprises all over the place on July 21st. I've been playing Overwatch as well, and this is turning into a bit of an addiction for me. This is very much the game where I say, oh, I've got 15 minutes. I'll jump in and play a match. 3 hours later, oh, yeah. It's a horrible addiction. I'm bad at the game. My win percentage is still not 50. I'm pretty good at winning medals in matches, I think. So maybe I'm not as bad, and I'm just suffering from pugitis or something. But I've never had so much fun in a shooter. It's like I've played shooters before. I've tried playing competitive shooters. I've tried TF2. I've tried Left 4 Dead and other stuff that always left me very tepid, and I'm just 100% addicted to Overwatch. I don't know what the secret sauce is, but it's whatever Blizzard does and adds to it. It's turned it into a real issue for my sleep life.
Okay, now just wait until you have a good streak and it pops you into like the next bracket of people and you get absolutely destroyed again and again and again until you drop down the lower bracket.
I don't think it's that harsh. Like, I haven't done competitive play yet. I've done, well, pardon me, I shouldn't say that. I've done 3 competitive matches and I'm 1 and 2 in competitive so far. So I haven't even placed myself yet. But in the quick plays, it really is 100% dependent on who you're playing with. Yes, you can bomb and you can completely ruin it for everybody else, but if you get a team that's strolling in one at a time, or isn't really playing together, or you've got like 3 guys that are all trying to get in behind the other team, whereas the other team is just mowing the defense down, when you get bad team play, Overwatch is horrible and frustrating to the point where that no other game has frustrated me for years. But when it's good, oh man, so good, just
Yes, it is
delicious. Anyway, and just because I couldn't be left out, I actually fired up Pokemon Go on my phone, and I've captured. Well, I'm level 5 now. I've been hunting Pokemon in my office, which I'm sure is just really, really encouraged and makes me very popular in that. The app takes a million years to load. I don't know. I've probably got like 20 Pokemon or something like that in there right now.
Yeah.
I have 9 eggs. I know that. So it's
you have to walk those eggs, which is an interesting...
Yeah. And, the concept is so good. I like the notion of this is a game that gets you out and you meet people. Like, I've met random people out on the street who were very clearly playing Pokemon Go at the same time as me and actually sat down and talked with them. I'm getting sunshine. Like, there's so many just beautiful benefits that society has been trying to pass off onto the last several generations that only wanted to retreat and play their games and that kind of thing. This is the best of both worlds being presented, and it still feels wrong. There's still something, like, maybe this is a self-esteem, maybe this is a Bill issue rather than a Pokemon Go issue. No, that's crazy. Never mind.
Yeah.
It's got to be something else.
No.
But it is. It feels wrong, even though it's combining a bunch of good things.
Have you noticed? I mean, there is something sinister about it. I mean, you have these poke stops, the location where you get your freebies, and you can also insert a lure in there. And supposedly these lures are to attract Pokemon. But have you noticed that they're actually luring in people?
Yeah. Well,
they're people lures.
And we don't
They are.
actually. we don't actually have this in our news yet, but Ingress, which is the parent or the direct precedent to Pokemon Go, just signed a big deal with I believe it was McDonald's all along the Pacific Coast, where Ingress portals are coming up in McDonald's restaurants all the way up the coast. And if you think about that and you put it in the context of Pokemon Go, what an insane push. Like if McDonald's had been able to go day one into Pokemon Go as having a guaranteed Pokestop or a gym or something like that at every McDonald's, they would have been flooded. They would have had Big Macs just flying off the shelves.
But
there are stories about that. Small businesses are actually seeing enormous increases in their revenue just because of Pokemon Go. So it has that effect. Indeed, imagine this being organized, that they're actually directing you to locations like that.
Well, okay, but here's, sorry, just to jump in here. Pokemon Go has launched in Japan with a McDonald's tie-in. I'm just trying to see the story here. What is it here? The McDonald's tie-in saying about 400 of its restaurants will be gyms, while the remaining 2,500 outlets will be Pokestops in Japan. So there you go, Bill. It's exactly what you were talking about.
Well, and the thing I think I like about that is that it's not nickel and diming. I mean, clearly the players are getting nickel and dimed already with just the in-app purchases and everything like that. But I think the big money from this is going to be coming from sponsorship deals if Pokemon Go survives its fad stage, obviously, which I think we talked a little bit about in pre-show, and if it's what's the word I was looking for here? I've totally lost my train of thought.
There you go.
Anyway, that's where the money's going to come from, is really those sponsorships and potentially the super evil positional tracking population data that it's accruing at a scary, scary rate as well.
Okay.
On that optimistic, not at all dystopian view of the future.
That's basically my week. How about you, Harry? You must have played something much more glib and fun than dark Pokemon Go.
Actually, I ignored Pokemon Go as much as I could because I'm completely sick and tired of it. But that's another story. I finally got some Elite Dangerous time in the Rift, and that was a very good experience. Although I'm not sure what to. Well, no, not at all.
Good.
Actually, no. As I've talked about it last week, there were just a couple of experiences that were terrible for me, and those were accidental in the sense that they were designed badly. I've had no problems with Elite Dangerous at all. I've had slight stomach churning moments in the sense that if you're doing a landing, I mean, the scale is 1-to-1, so you're actually flying down, for example, a big canyon, and that you feel that, it's that little roller coaster feeling of like, whoa, but it's not bad. It's actually good. It's not. So I didn't feel any discomfort. I just felt kind of frustrated by the engineers update, because I had an invitation from a couple of engineers to. Those are the new crafting NPCs in the game. That you are invited to those, and you can only get to the next level of engineers if you get a good reputation with the previous level. It's kind of a rep system. It's on paper very nice, and every engineer needs some kind of appeasement, a kind of an offering, a buy-in to get you started. And I was invited by an explorer type engineer, and I flew all the way out to her. And I land, and I'm impressed by the visuals and the great new base. And then she only wants to help me if I give her a meta-alloy. And meta-alloys are only found on places where you have these barnacles, these alien structures that were discovered a year ago.
Targoids.
And they are... No, not sure if they're the Targoids. But anyway... On the other end of the bubble, is what I'm saying. It's like 40 jumps from where the engineer is, and I didn't know. I mean, it's not like you get a hint that you need to bring some. Actually, what I thought, because I had visited one of those engineers before, and it was a weapons specialist, and he wanted some bounty bonds or bounty vouchers. I didn't have any on me, but that made sense. You know, you have to prove that you're a combat guy, so you have to give him a couple of your bounty.
Yeah.
So I actually expected the explorer to want some exploration data. So I flew in there with a memory core full of exploration data, expecting this will buy me into the exploration thing. But no, I have to go all the way to the damn Merope system to get the damn alloy. And I sat there and I thought, like, no, I just jumped 20 jumps to get here, and I have to do another 40 to get, and then I have to do the 40 back. And it kind of felt like that's not fun. So I was I loved being in Elite Dangerous again. I mean, looking around at your ship. The only thing lacking is a Netflix window somewhere in your ship, so you can watch TV while you're flying.
Somebody did that. Somebody overlaid a Netflix window into their, I don't know if it was a Vive or a Rift, but put it basically right sort of center console right there, tilted back a little bit.
I'm now watching the Reddit, and I missed that. And that's actually because this is something I'm definitely going to check out. There is this other, it's not on my list, but I've talked about it. I've been playing Flight Simulator X, Flight Simulator 10 in VR, and the plugin for that has a very nice option of importing windows just from your desktop into VR, and they're there like a floating window. And it's very helpful if you want to have a checklist or anything, or a map or something like that. And I would love something like that in Elite Dangerous, because in those long trading runs or those long trips, if I would be able to watch something fun on the big screen next to my pilot seat, I would be more than happy to do the 30 jumps. I don't care. I would be happy as a clam. It's just my space living room. So that's Elite Dangerous. So I finished the game in VR, and it's called Esper 2, and it's a very fun puzzle title. It's like it's very Portal inspired in the sense that you are a guy sitting in a chair, in a wheelchair. That's good because you can't move in VR without getting nauseous, and you're always stationary and you can't touch anything, but you do have ESP power, so you can move things with the power of your mind. And the way it works is you look at something, and the things that you can move get a little shimmer. And the Oculus Rift comes with a remote, which is a very small, kind of like an Apple TV remote type thing with a select button, and you can use that to lift stuff and move stuff, and very simple. And you are an agent in a 70s style spy operation base, and you are trained and you are tested. And there's the Portal thing, so you get voiceovers from the guys and girls that are testing you, putting you through puzzles. You have to put a sphere into a round receptacle and a cube into a square receptacle, and variations of that, and sometimes views are blocked. Some materials have different effects if you're looking through them, switches, and that's the puzzle part. And it's very Portal-y, also with the sense of humor, with an evil bad guy on the loose that's starting to talk to you. And it gets progressively weirder and more like a hallucination, and it's a fun experience. And you go places that you didn't expect, because you start out in a boring room, and where you finally end up, it's completely blowing your mind. And it's not long. I think it's 5 hours or something. But it is so much fun to just sit there and move things with your mind, because you forget about using your thumb to press stuff. After a moment, and the environments are convincing enough and to scale to give you the sense that you're actually being this secret agent with special powers, and it's cool. It's also on Gear VR. It's a small game, fun.
Oh,
Awesome.
It works.
Now, can you just send me your Oculus Rift so I can play it?
I could. but I won't.
Thank you.
I
I'll
also
send you my
have-
address. Much appreciated.
And the final game I played, and this I had to jump through some hoops to get this to work, and it still doesn't work quite well, but it was worth the effort. It's the Budget Cuts demo, and Budget Cuts is a VR spy game where it's designed for the HTC Vive, and it uses the room scale setup, and you need to use the motion controllers to manipulate stuff. So it is a stealth spy game where you are infiltrating in an office, and the office is guarded by robots, like walking on legs and having like the square box heads. The cliche type of robots are walking around, and you have to avoid them or kill them with a knife. Because if I think robots, I think kill them with a knife. And the only way you can kill them with a knife is by throwing said knives at the robots. And the great thing about this, it has a portal mechanic where you teleport. This is completely woven into the gameplay. You look at a place, you use a special portal gun, and you jump to different locations, and when you are at a place, you can just walk around a little bit. You have to bend down, look under cupboards, open drawers, and find keys, and disarm defense grids, and it's very fun. The only two things that suck about it is, first, I don't have the correct controllers. I have Razer Hydras, and they are terrible. They are terrible, terrible motion controllers.
Are they terrible, though, Harry?
They are not good.
Tell us what you really think.
So, what are they the direct analog of? Are they basically just the early release of the actual Oculus controllers that are going to come out later?
They were designed as a PC equivalent of the Wii remotes, and they are from that age.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And they use a magnetic sphere, and the two controllers are tracked by measuring that magnetic field that's coming from that. And the range of it is very short, and the controller, the things in your hands, are tied with two cords to the base station. And it's if you move a little bit too far, I think they're designed to sit down and have your controllers basically almost touching them to have them be precise. And they're not designed for this kind of thing, so I can't really fault them for that. And I had them lying around, so this is purely hacking stuff.
Okay. But they're at least pretty, right?
But
No.
but what the second thing is, and this is something. There's this developer out there who's been building a driver to emulate the HTC Vive controllers by using the Razer Hydras, which is a tremendous effort, and I'm very happy that they did this. And I'm not blaming the developers of this driver, because they make me play this game at least a little bit. But the thing is, and this is again a hardware thing, the Hydras don't have a way of registering the speed of the motion. They can measure an acceleration. And that means if you throw something, so you can make all the wild motions you want, if you let go of the knife, it just drops at your feet.
So you're not killing any robots, is what you're saying.
They fixed this by adding a acceleration emulation system, which supposedly helps you to actually throw things. And it does, but not in the direction that you're aiming, not at the speed you're expecting it. I almost threw my arm out. I'm amazed I didn't punch through my monitor accidentally, because I'm not seeing anything. And I can't, it's like I'm a little girl. I can't throw more than 3 feet. And I'm standing behind the robot, literally like I could tap on his shoulder and say hi. And I'm trying to throw this damn knife, and I'm throwing next to him, in front of him, over him. And the robot is like, hey, what's that? And he's walking towards the knife. And all of a sudden, like, hey, maybe somebody. And every time he kills me. And it's so frustrating to have the knife, to see this back of the skull, and to throw, and then it's nuts. And in the game, it's frustrating too. But it really, the bad thing about this is because it is such a fun experience. just going through this installation and actually having to open drawers to find a key, to open a safe, to push a button, to do some, it's amazing. So I can't wait for the actual controllers to reach me, to the actual the Oculus Touch controllers, because they don't have that issue. Then the game is just fully playable. So those are my games for this week. Chris, what have you been doing?
Mostly, I've been playing a lot of Riders of Icarus. Now, we've talked about this game for a little while, and this is one where the big hook for this one was the fact that you were going to be able to have mounts and dragons. And I'm showing off now for those of you watching the video, the dragon that I did tame. And there's a whole bunch of different familiars, they call them out in the world, and you can tame them. That's the big hook for this game. That's what makes it different. So I have been playing it for the last couple of weeks. I was in for a press day they had, and I got into the Head Start. Now it's in, they call it open beta, soft launch. Sorry, just a little bit of a cough there. But the open beta, soft launch, no, I'm just going to call it a soft launch. It's launched. You can pay money for this now, so it's launched. And I've been playing for the last few weeks and streaming quite regularly in the mornings and having quite a bit of fun with it. I tried really, really hard to make it to the max level of 25, but I'm 23 3/4 at this point, and I am grinding like it's 1999, to quote the eloquent Harry Hall. A couple things I want to talk about. First of all, the combat is really fun. I am enjoying that. I've played the assassin class, which is a fast assassin class, and it's not based on stealth, it's based on quick movement and stabby, and I have been stabbing my way across the 4 zones available in the world. Now, these zones are not super huge. It's not the biggest world you've ever seen, but they're already starting to put out some new content, which we'll talk about a little bit later in this show. So first of all, let's talk about that familiar stuff, because the rest of it, the quest, this is a theme park MMO. There is no PvP. It's all PvE. You've got your dungeons. You've got your questing. We've all seen this a million times before. So how does the combat work? Well, it's fast-paced. It's fun. I liked the Assassin. I'm going to try out the Guardian soon. I do want to try out some alts, which it's been a while since a game has been fun enough that I wanted to make alts. Usually I go through, get a good enough idea of the game, and either continue playing that one character or move along to the next game. One of the cool things, though, with those familiars, you can do some mounted combat. You can fight in the world using your crossbow or your lance that you get, and this comes around sometime in the mid-teens. You can get to do this, and you can attack from range or close up, and it works pretty well. They do have some mechanics in place where I can't, on my flying mount, out of range attack ground targets, for example. They just regenerate their health faster than I can kill them. But I can go around when I'm doing some quite repetitive quests and make it a little bit faster by having a mount, and by having this mounted combat. Works much better than Lotro's mounted combat, just saying. Yeah, that Lotro mounted combat.
That's a heck of a bar you're setting there.
I know. So you can do that on the ground mounts and on the flying mounts as well. I did find that the world was quite beautiful, very well done, nice, beautiful long draw distances for everything, with the typical MMO sort of fogging as we get a little bit further. But that distance of the fogging was really, really nice. There was some pop-up with some stuff when you're flying around when stuff comes in, but it wasn't horrible. With the combat, one thing that was incredibly frustrating, though, was that as an assassin, a lot of the time I'd be trying to use my nimble dash, it's called, to get out of the way or to dodge stuff. And a lot of the time, I would find that my character would take the damage before the monster attacking me did the animation that caused the damage. And that was incredibly frustrating, especially with the big boss fights where they're hitting me for a lot of damage, and that's what kills me. That almost drove me away from the game. That was pretty bad. We're going to talk about the familiars in just a second, but I want to go and show and talk a little bit about my first dragon taming, which I think is a really good experience for what the taming is like. So I had a quest to go and get this dragon, and I flew through. I had to dodge using my super flying speed on my little phoenix that I was going through there, and I'm going through the heart of a volcano to get my first dragon. And so I fly through the volcano, flying through these valleys, dodging the boulders that these lava elementals are throwing up at me. And I get to the dragon, and I hit the key that puts me into taming mode. So I'm literally standing on top of my phoenix. You know, you see people riding horses, and they're standing on top of the horses. That's what I'm doing, going around. And I jump from my phoenix and land on my dragon. And then there's a little quick time event where you have to try and tame the the familiar. This time it was the dragon. And so I got it, and finally at level 20 I had my dragon, and he looks pretty darn badass. Volcanus is his name, and I really enjoyed that. So that was a fun experience. A lot of the other taming in the world is, well, to put it bluntly, tame. You go out and you find your familiar, you jump onto its back, you get your quick time event, you succeed or you don't. Sometimes you need to actually craft stuff to increase your chances to be able to tame them, or finish specific quests to be able to get them. So it's not just super simple, or get a specific item to be able to tame them. So it's not always just super simple. You do have to put in some work, but there are tons of familiars in this game. And we'll get to it as I talk a little bit about the UI, and that's one of the things that was really frustrating for me. The character screen is quite old. There's very little gear that you actually get. It's an old. It reminded me of the Ultima Online. The talent system that they've got that's there is super simple. You actually get your familiars, and when you tame them, you can actually put them in familiar orbs, and then you sacrifice them to get talent points. And that's how you get your talent. So you have to build up these talent points by getting more familiars. And is this sounding grindy yet at all, guys? Because it's a little bit grindy.
Yes.
Yeah. What is the worst part for me, though, was unfortunately the dungeon system. And what was not fun about it is that there's no queues. There's no finder, no party finder. Sorry, wait. There is a party finder. There is a party finder. It's a message board, basically, that you go to, and you can post looking for party. And then other people can look there and also maybe find a party. 5 of the, I think, 10 that I saw on the screen were gold spammers. 2 were guild invites, and then the rest were for groups that were not anywhere near what I was looking to get. So I had never ran a group dungeon. I didn't do any group contents or world bosses with anyone because it was nearly impossible to find a group to go in. I sat for 25 minutes outside of one of the dungeons, LFG, CM, Epic, right? And there's 3 levels for the dungeons. There's the solo, which, you know, it's the basic one, and then there's the epic, which you're supposed to be able to do on the easiest difficulty. As a solo player, I couldn't, so I was looking for groups. And then there's the heroic, which is the hard one, right? So I never got to all the stuff I wanted to do. I wanted to fight the big Titan that you saw in the trailer. Nope, didn't get to that. And I hadn't hit level 25 yet, but you know, I couldn't do any of the dungeon content, which I love. So that was a disappointment. The skill tree was quite linear, and the game is quite small. It's 4 zones. But like I said, they've already announced their plans to add 10 levels to the game and add some more familiars and stuff like that. But I think that my overall view of the game is that it was a lot of fun, but my first thought when I heard about 10 more levels was, oh crap, more leveling? That's not a good sign, guys. That's not something you really want to go to. Oh, they have crafting as well. It's a very basic crafting system, something we've seen before. The nice thing about it, though, is the store is purely cosmetics and like some health potions. That's it. There's no buffs that will make it pay to win or anything like that, which Black Desert is teasing now with some of their stuff. So it's a pretty good store as far as free-to-play stores go. Really, what this comes down to, guys, is that if you're looking for a grindy game and you don't mind some of the issues that I've mentioned here and you love mount collecting, this might be the game for you. I might be sticking around.
But it sounds so much like faint praise. It's like sarcasm. It's like if you like grindy games
but
that are
some
small,
people do. Some
unfinished,
people do.
and not completely interesting, this might be the game for you.
It's you know what? There is a type of person who likes the grindy game. They like this gotta catch 'em all sort of stuff. Hello, Pokemon Go, right? They like the idea that there's tons of stuff for them to do that's not just questing, which there is quite a bit of stuff here for them to do. But it does feel like a game that came out 10 years too late.
I have two problems already with this game. The first is your dragon was called Volcanus, something
Because
like that.
I got it from a volcano.
Did you name the dragon?
No.
Okay, because there's no dragons called Tim or Jake or John? I mean, it has to be crystallophilic dives or epoxy resin or you don't. Why? It's so on the nose. And second, are these MMO designers from the Starbucks naming school? I mean, you have an easy dungeon, a little bit harder dungeon, and a hard dungeon, and they're calling it solo, epic, and heroic.
Yeah.
That's just.
Yeah.
That's just naming stuff for the sake of naming stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm loving this game so far.
I don't think this is a game for either of you. I don't think you'll really enjoy it. But the questing, the story was okay. It was.
Does it have spaceships?
It has airships.
It's no spaceships.
It has like manta rays that got me to the zone, the sort of level 23, 24, 25 leveling zone.
But you're going to space?
To another space.
Outer space.
No, you do not go to outer space. But there's lots of.
Then why would I want to play this game?
If you like I said, if you like mounts, if you want to collect stuff, if you don't mind the grind, it's I think a pretty okay game. There's some people that are like talking in chat. They're really, really enjoying it. I'm going to stick with it. I can't quite put my finger on exactly why. I think it's probably the mount collection. Hello, I haven't gotten my spider mount yet. But as soon as I get that spider mount, I'm gone.
I wasn't saying anything. I was about to, but I didn't say it yet.
So there you go. That's my review of Riders of Icarus. If that sounds like something that you would be interested in, you should go and check that out. It is free to play, so there's no reason why, if you've got even a tiny bit of interest, you shouldn't go check it out.
It sounds so much like Dragon's Prophet.
I haven't played much Dragon's Prophet. I played demos of it, but I never played like press demos. But I never played the full game. Maybe I should. Maybe I should go into there.
I think you would love it. I'm actually serious, because the things you seem to like about this game are better in what I've played of Dragon's Prophet.
Oh, you know what? No, I did play Dragon's Prophet. I don't remember what I thought of it, though, so I should probably go check it out again.
I'm going to play it again.
There you go. Okay, I'm going to move along here. I did play some WoW, getting ready for Legion. Awesome. And, of course, Pokemon Go. Because isn't everybody? All the cool kids are doing it.
No, actually, that's basically not true. It's basically not the cool kids. It's everybody. I mean, if everybody's playing it, there's something fishy here.
Yeah. Okay.
Magikarp.
No, but why does everyone seem to have a problem with the fact that you just have to put the little disc in the little cone, and then a disc in a cone, and then it just feels great, right?
Yeah, and then exactly, and then we get one of the worst episodes of Star Trek ever.
Ashley Judd was good in that show. Just fine. We've had this conversation before, Harry. Shut your mouth. I like that episode.
You know, I usually have no problem with Wesley Crusher, but he was awful in this episode.
Wait, I gotta mute Harry here.
You know what? Maybe we should go to the next bit.
Okay, I'll leave you unmuted then. Do want to mention our patrons real quick. Thanks to everyone for checking out our Patreon page, patreon.com/MMO Reporter. If you want to help us keep the proverbial lights on, then please check that out and help support the network. We really appreciate it. Barb's our latest patron. Thank you, Barb. You are fantastic. All right, let's move things along to the news.
Wipe the group and never clear the rain. More than deeds is all you have to do to make the rain. Then you
we are going to move things on to surprise Guild Wars 2 news. Now, I was lucky enough earlier today to go and check out a preview for the content that's coming out today when the podcast goes live. This is why we didn't do a live recording of the episode, and we don't have any chat room or anything like that. We did have a three-pronged approach. I got 3 different demos, one on the Living World, one on PvP, and one on Fractals. Now, before we talk about that stuff, gentlemen, how excited are you about the new content? Are you gonna? We sort of talked about maybe doing Living World Season 3. What about the PvP, the Fractals stuff that's coming out? Are either of you interested in that?
Yeah. Actually, I'm looking forward to another good reason to get back into Guild Wars 2. It's just under the list. I mean, I've been finishing since the VR fever is dying down a bit for me. Not that it's just like the novelty is worn off. It's not just a peripheral. So now I think maybe I can go back to those old-fashioned retro games again. And Guild Wars 2 is a good one. I mean, I still like. I'm looking forward to all the new little things. Mm-hmm. I was just thinking. I mean, the people are always nostalgic about the way the games were before. I would really like to see some of those players who complained about it play the first versions of World of Warcraft or EverQuest or even Guild Wars 2 before they got good.
I thought you thought Guild Wars 2 was great right from the very get-go.
Actually, Guild Wars 2 was better in the start than it was at... Actually, I missed the old... I want to go back to the old Guild Wars 2.
All right, what about you, Bill? Are you going to jump into PvP or Fractals at all?
Yeah, absolutely. I actually spent quite a bit of time in low-level Fractals for a while in Guild Wars 2.
I remember that.
The PvP, I'm tentative about because I get very snippy about PvP that's imbalanced and not fun and that kind of thing. And that's all I've been hearing about Guild Wars 2 PvP for a while. It's been getting better with the attention that it's been getting, but I don't know. And maybe this is just a Bill thing and I need to not pay attention to the forums anymore, but we'll say a tentative yes. I'll be watching the reaction to Guild Wars 2 PvP.
Well, let's get into what I was able to see today. First, we're going to start by talking a little bit about the Living World Season 3 stuff. And if you remember, I'm going to try to be spoiler light. I will talk a little bit about some tiny little story moments that come up right at the very beginning. So, and it shouldn't really be a surprise, but I will be spoiler light. First, this does feature the return of the White Mantle. So if you remember some of the sacrifices that were happening way back in Guild Wars 1, you will, the part actually that the video is watching right now, where the battle that's happening and what's happening to the NPCs has to do with those sacrifices. So a very cool connection back to the first game. I was really excited to see that. And this new zone is kind of interesting. It's like a crazy landscape with a whole bunch of updrafts. And a cool thing I wanted to mention is they've got these new types of updrafts, which if you don't have the leyline mastery, they actually are like little roller coasters, they call them, where you hop on and it actually goes up and across and, different directions, and it has different turns in it. So you kind of jump onto this roller coaster of an updraft and get around the zone a little bit better. It's not a huge zone, not the same size as any of the Maguma zones or anything like that. And the events that are in it are focused on localized events rather than a big, huge zone-wide meta event, which is a good thing in some ways, but I liked some of the big meta events. We're not losing any of those in Maguma, so that's a good thing. But smaller scale, I think will fit with a lot of the player base. I've thought about this after the fact and didn't get a chance to ask, but it'd be interesting to see if any of the because I know that some of the was it the quests or something like that required the failing of some parts of events to be able to move things forward. If they change that so that wasn't required in any of the new events, but didn't get a chance to ask that. The little bits of the story that I did get to see, I didn't finish the full first episode on this preview. I will be jumping back in when this goes live, and I will be playing the crap out of this because I liked what I saw so far. So a cool new zone, some cool new meta events that are going on, and some new ways to to reward mastery track specializations. For example, at one point we saw during our playthrough a treasure mushroom, very similar to like a Diablo treasure gnome.
Oh, yeah.
Or whatever those things are. And so we had to kill it, and we got a whole bunch of loot. It didn't drop all over the ground like it does in Diablo 3, but that was really interesting. So very pretty zone. I was quite impressed with it. And it's very vertical, like all the Meguma stuff is, but much more traversable than I find Meguma is.
The one thing that I'm missing, and that's, I think I'm only now realizing what I liked about the original Guild Wars 2 and I'm disliking about Heart of Thorns, is the lack of the personal stories, because I loved going to a zone and seeing a village under attack, or the little stories that happen right in front of you. And that had immediate effect on what you were doing. And even though they were quite basic, it would usually defend an area or collect stuff, that doesn't matter. It felt like you were part of a little story there. And from Heart of Thorns, the new zones became very abstract. You're collecting stuff and bringing it to places to build outposts. And it doesn't feel, it feels gamey, and it does, not in the sense of rotting meat, but too much of a game thing. And it feels, it doesn't feel as much as a personal encounter with the living people in the world. So if they're changing that to be more like the old thing, that would be a big improvement in my enjoyment of the story aspect of the game.
And I'm sure this was just my skill as a player, but it's still a little bit. I always found Meguma quite challenging, even with the downgrade. This is still, I didn't die, but I struggled running around this area, not dying. Definitely favors grouping, as all this new content definitely does. So that was the Living World. Any questions about that, guys?
When is the new raid coming?
Oh, they didn't talk about that.
I don't care
off
either.
Limits. Yeah, I haven't done the raids either. Although I really want to. Looking for carry. Anybody want to carry? A few of us, Bill and I are North America, so get people to carry us through the raid. Thanks. Okay, bye.
We need one or two people to carry like four of us.
Yeah. Okay. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just saying it sounds. I'm happy that they're still adding landmass, even though it's small.
Yep.
I mean, and usually they reserve it for expansion. So I'm happy that maybe they're rolling out some new areas in the rest of the living story as well. Did you ask that?
No.
Or is this you didn't ask that, or they're not doing that?
I didn't ask that.
Anyways, I'm curious if that. I mean, that could be. I mean, maybe the finale is opening up some new areas. Things like that would be good.
Okay, moving on to the PvP portion of it. Got to do a match of the new Conquest map, Capricorn. This one is kind of interesting because the backdrop of this fight is that a pirate ship is coming, the Capricorn, and you have the regular 3 conquest points, but the point in the middle, think of it kind of like the heroes in the Stronghold maps, will spawn at different intervals, and you can go in and get that, and if you cap it, then you order the cannons to fire on the ship, and your team gets an extra 25 points. And then if you do it again, your team gets 50. If you do it again, you get 75. But the cool thing is, let's say that my team, I'm on red team and Bill's on blue team. Red team caps it once, we get 25. We cap it again, we get 50. And then if Bill's team caps it, they don't get 75, they get 25. They start at the beginning of that sort of ladder up the bonus points. So that's kind of cool. Reuses a lot of the Lion's Arch assets in kind of an interesting way. And I was talking to some of the developers as we were fighting, and they were saying that a lot of the classes got some love for PvP with this particular update, especially Guardian apparently got a lot of love, as well as most of the other classes at least got a pass. Revenant was mentioned as well, and Necro. So I've got the biggest news though. The biggest news I think has ever come to Guild Wars 2 SPVP. You're going to be able to queue outside the mists.
Oh,
wow.
that's good.
That actually
Right?
is very big news.
Right? I mean, I'm talking about burying the lead, huh?
I thought you were being sarcastic, but that is
No.
massive. Like
Yeah.
there's I mean
Yes.
it created a kind of an interesting community queuing up in the mist queuing area, and because there was always people there and people being weird, and you could there was a limited amount of things to do, but to be able to just do a little bit of mat farming or completing a heart or some quests
Right,
or that kind of
exactly.
thing. I guess the downside is you're doing a world boss, and all of a sudden 6 people just randomly disappear, and
It's the rapture.
That's right, because you're all going to die.
oh, have you guys seen The Leftovers?
No.
The leftovers.
It's exactly that. It's actually
I've heard
so
of
far
it,
it's a
yeah.
pretty good show. It's basically a show set 5 years after an event where 2% of the world's population just disappears,
Oh,
and nobody knows why.
is it serious or comedy?
Very serious and not kid friendly.
It sounds a bit related to the 4400 or something like that. One of
Yeah.
those mystery shows.
That's what I picked up first too, but for one thing, it's better. I didn't like the 4400 at all.
Oh, I'm watching it on Netflix, and I'm actually quite enjoying it now.
Oh,
but low expectations help.
Guild Wars 2. Guild Wars 2. Back to
I
Guild Wars.
I actually watched Terra Nova.
Okay, so I'm going to move on now.
Oh, you know what's
and
good
we're gonna
is
talk
Preacher.
about the fractal.
Have you
demonstration
actually
that I had
seen
today. So
Stranger
it was
Things,
Really
the new Netflix
interesting
show?
to go into a good fractal run. I haven't been in a fractal in a long time, but I got to run through here, and it's a very cool looking fractal. Using again the common theme here between the PvP map and the fractals, some assets being used from other maps or fractals or stuff like that. So they mentioned that as well with this one. So we're going to recognize some of the stuff if you've been doing fractals, but there's some new bosses. Liked the second boss. I liked all the bosses actually, but the second boss was really interesting in that it had a cool mechanic that you started off with the main boss and then some bots. I think it was 4 bots. And as you fought the main boss, then the boss would have a shield, and you'd have to fight their bots. And there were 4 bots. Like one was Doc, one was Plink, one was Stabby or something like that. And then when we would kill all of those, because we'd have to kill those robots every time, every stage when it would get through there. But the last one that would get killed would be dropped the next time, the next cycle. So if we had those 4 robots, we killed one, we fought the first 3 that we killed the last time. So every time you would leave the last one up that you wanted to go away. So you'd pick one. Okay, we want Doc. We don't want it because Doc had heals. We don't want Doc to come back, so we're going to kill Doc last on this round. And then so you'd kill. So that was an interesting fight. And then the last one was very discotheque-ish in that the floor was built in big grids, and then it would electrify. And then at different tiers it would scale, and you would also have stomping things from above come down and hit people.
So what tier is this fractal? Like, because every fractal it seems to have a fixed value in the grid.
No, because you can do it at tier. You can do them at different tiers, right? So we loaded
Yeah.
up this one at tier 1. right? So
yeah,
we
but
did
like within every tier, like tier 1 is like level 1 through 20, for example. And there's a big difference between level 1 and level 20 in that first tier.
Well, they talked about this one being able to tier, so it could be done at different tiers and it would scale up. So this particular fractal would scale.
But we
so it would have
don't
different
know
mechanics with the different bosses.
Okay, but we don't know if this is going to be like in the first 5 or in the last 5 of the tier
no,
or anything
I don't
like
know.
that.
No, I don't know about that. Sorry, I could have looked that up because they've got a cool new fractal UI where you can actually see all the different fractals in a specific tier and the difficulty level, and if they're color coded for you can do this to you're gonna die a painful, painful death. So that's really cool. A nice new UI for that. The other thing to mention in here, there's some hidden stuff as well, off the beaten path. If you're interested in looking at that, that will get you some cool lore as well as some nice achievements. So if you want to check that out, that would be cool. I want to do fractals now, guys. I really want to do fractals.
Yep, we should run them. They're very important for doing your legendaries too. So it's doubly thing. You're having fun and accomplishing things.
There we go. All right, so a couple quick things to mention too with Guild Wars 2. The trailer is out, but hey, by the time this show comes out, you will already have had this content launch, so don't worry about that. And Heart of Thorns is 50% off right now for a week, so this should still be a couple days left by the time this goes live. All right, just want to mention our sponsors real quick before we get to the quick mentions. Audible, go to audiblepodcast.com/MMO Reporter to get a free month of an Audible subscription, which means you get one free audiobook. You can cancel after you have claimed your credit. And Doghouse Systems, go to doghousesystems.com to get a new boutique computer. They are the best boutique computer maker out there. You want to go check them out, doghousesystems.com. Use the coupon code MMO Reporter to add a 120 gig SSD to your order in addition to whatever other hard drives you have. Pull that world boss out a party, run through trash, you'll be sorry. Take a bio break without announcing. They may not rhyme, but they're quite possibly the dumbest ways to die. Dumbest ways to die. Dumbest ways to die. All right, Bill, you have found something of some big news happening in Lotro. Dune TM.
News, it's big, but it's not news. How about that? Just a note kind of popped in the forums over on and linked over on the Massively OP feed. The producer from Lord of the Rings Online, Severin, kind of replied to a comment thread that was getting kind of whingy about the fact that DDO was getting an expansion, but nobody knew anything about what was going on with Lord of the Rings Online. So Severin popped in there and basically said, I would love to be able to say more, but I don't know if I'm even allowed to say this. There are big things coming soon.
Quotation marks around big.
Yeah, regarding the trip to the Black Gate and entering into Mordor. So this is actually a concept that they're working on, which is very encouraging, and they actually do respect kind of the grandeur of stepping into Mordor and having that be a major event and that kind of thing. So it's a nice thing to hear, especially in light of the concern about the direction of Turbine and where development resources are going to go and whether Lotro is going to be in kind of autopilot mode or something like that. To see that they've still got ambitious ideas is encouraging in that phase. So I just wanted to mention that. We'll have links to the forum post and everything like that in the show notes.
Very cool. And as mentioned earlier, Riders of Icarus has announced its first big update. They're increasing the level cap to 35. Yay.
Boy, that didn't take long.
Yeah. It didn't take long at all.
Or our show is running so long that in the time between the review and this point, we're actually getting into expansions now.
10 new levels, 2 new dungeons, and a bunch of new familiars, so go check that out. It is incredibly... If I had just a few days just to sit down and play it like a job for like 3... I'd easily get there.
I just finished the raid in Lord of the Rings Online to get the ring into Mount Doom, by the way.
Okay, thank you,
just-
by the way.
Yeah.
All right. Also, want to do a couple quick things. First of all, Neverwinter has launched on PS4. If you've got a PS4, it's free to play. You really should check it out. It's the best MMO we never play, right, Bill?
It is. I can't even tell you how often I hover over that little N icon on my desktop and then slide over to the O for Overwatch and play that for 15 minutes, 3 hours.
So, hey, Harry, you need to check it out because I know you're a fan of Neverwinter as well.
It's on a good console, so I'll give it a go.
All right, 2 more quick things here. Hearthstone is apparently going to have a big announcement next week. We don't know what it is, but it's going to be big.
Boy, we are all about the news
Big.
that's saying something's going to happen.
Big. Yeah. And not news, but something interesting over at SIP's site, BioBreak. If you don't know Sipster, Justin Olivetti from Massively OP. He's got a website, wonderful website called BioBreak, biobreak.wordpress.com. He's got a great MMO timeline, which just basically does exactly that. It goes through a timeline of MMOs all the way back to MUDs, which I think is just awesome to see. So it goes from 1980 is the first entry all the way down to 2016. So he keeps updating this, and so you can go back and see when things launched. So cool thing. Go check it out. biobreak.wordpress.com/MMO-timeline.
I had a ton of fun with this. Give yourself at least half an hour and prepare to do a bunch of Wikipedia searching around this because it's going to be like traveling back in time to your youth when MMOs were new and fun and exciting. It's very cool.
Okay, Bill. We are running quite long, so why don't you run through the contact info? If people want to send us a voicemail, send us a voicemail.
I will run. Hey, send us a voicemail, 616-666-6778. We're going to do it first because it's what we want you to do first. Send us a voicemail. We want to hear from you. Or visit our website, MMOreporter.com, to check out everything MMO Reporter related. If you'd like to send us an email, we do email, mmo.reporter@gmail.com. You can visit us over at Facebook, facebook.com/MMO Reporter. You can tweet at any of the MMO reporters, either at MMO_reporter for Chris, at Harry Hall for Harry Hall, or at MMO Bill for yours truly. You can visit us on YouTube at youtube.com/MMO Reporter Network, or if you're looking at throwing a few bucks our way, head over to patreon.com/MMO Reporter. And if you're not a Patreon kind of person, because there are people like that out there, head over to MMOreporter.com/support, and there will be other ways to help us out.
Absolutely. Hey, Bill, thanks for doing that, and thanks for recording. It was wonderful to record with you once again.
It was fantastic.
And Handsome Harry, it was, as ever, a heck of a lot of hella fun. Thank you.
I just ordered the latest revision of the 3rd edition of the Oculus Rift, which with 4K HD screens, and
Because it took us so long to record.
yeah.
Thanks,
Am I
Harry.
beating this old joke to get?
Yeah,
okay, never mind. Guys, see you. Like,
Thanks, everybody, for coming out, hanging out with us, listening to the podcast, watching the podcast, however you may consume it. We want to thank you for doing so. We hope that you come back next week, but most importantly, we hope to see you in game.
You need to cherish each and every little character you've got, no matter what level they're at. Don't forget about your ults you need to cherish.
Thanks for watching the video, everybody. Don't forget to check out all the other podcasts at MMOreporter.com or by clicking on any of the links here. And please check out our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/MMOReporter. Thanks, everyone, and see you in game.